Hey, everybody, welcome to Joe's Minibike Reunion Podcast. It's season 4.
Episode 6.
One job. They give you one freaking job. Hey, it's me, Joe Sebergandio, and here with the evil one, Evil Ed. And welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We've got a great show for you tonight, and we're doing this like the first time, so to speak. For those of you who were there with us earlier, you'll know that this really isn't the first time, but I want to thank our sponsors from Pioneer Car Audio, all of our friends over at Go Kart USA, GoPowersports.com, Studs Performance, our friends at Green Filter USA, and we can't forget our friends Frank and Brian from F&B Racing. Joe's Minibike Reunion Podcast tonight is an awesome podcast because I'm excited to have on board tonight two of the guys that have probably the two hottest events in our hobby, literally. And I have one myself. I'm not even one of those guys, right? We're going to be talking to Jeff Mihalko, and Jeff is the originator, OG, of mini bike events, Ed, as we truly know them, but he's got the goods because you could ride. You could ride, right? So there's the magic.
Day.
You got it. And we're going to be bringing Jeff on, and then on the second half of tonight's podcast, we're going to be bringing in Tate Morgan. And Tate is the one of the guys, I should say, behind the Gambler 500. And that's I had what do we have to eat tonight?
Turkey sandwich.
Oh. It was good, but I think I woofed it down a little bit.
No, maybe it was the mayonnaise.
It was. I like mayonnaise. Anyways, Tate is going to be joining us, and they just got through with the Gambler 500, which is an endurance race in the dirt, in the wilderness. Okay, fucking you name it: rock, sand, dirt, cactus. It's littered with hundreds, and there's some videos out there. In fact, if you'd like to, because most of you guys can multitask, right? Google Gambler 500, and this one was in Portland, I believe. It was just recently. And take a look at some of those videos. And while you're at it, Google Minibike Reunion. And this is the Windber PA. And I always have a problem with that. I want to call it Windburger or something. Windber. Thank you. Windber PA. And Ed's been there. And that's an event that you still have time to get to. Unfortunately, we couldn't get Tate on to pre-promote his event because we had a little bit of, things happen in life, right? So our podcast dates got bumped around. So Tate, thank you for not only hanging there with us and also being available for me later on tonight on such a quick notice. So with all that said, Ed, usually you and I kind of catch up on things, and with that in mind, considering we had a little bit of a time challenge here, why don't we get to Jeff?
Yeah, let's get to him.
Don't you think? So I'm going to dial him up. Now, you've been to that event, and you went back there. What were we talking about? Guardrail Day? When was
First time I went with Guardrail Dave. I think that was in 2012.
You flew there, right?
Yes.
And where does everybody fly in when they go there?
We had to fly into Pittsburgh and rent a car and drive.
All right, so we're going to get Jeff on the line now. And Jeff's,
if I remember correctly, it was like a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, he's in, Windber. Even when you say it, you could tell it's not like a lot of people flying in and out of Windber, right? So when we originally were booking Jeff, in fact, I want to thank Karen Krause because she was instrumental in us getting in touch with Jeff. But she's on top of everything, right? And we owe her can of, what is that, Brake Clean?
I think it was.
That was autographed by the 1%ers. All right, we're going to dial up Jeff now. And Jeff is in an area similar to this garage. And what I mean by that is that it's not easy connectivity-wise. Looks like we're going to be fine, though, Ed. Ed, here's the mic.
Hello, this is Jeff.
Hey, Jeff. This is Joe and Evil Ed from Joe's Minibike Reunion Podcast. How you doing tonight?
Good, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We, typical fashion, Jeff, sometimes if those gaskets don't fit right, those windows, they make a noise,
Yes.
So we had a few of our own little technical difficulties here, but he's really smart. He's smarter than all those little gremlins out there, so he fixed us up. Thanks for your patience. What's the weather like over there in Pennsylvania tonight, Jeff?
Well, weather-wise, it's beautiful. Nice and cold. It's about 55 degrees, and sun was shining today, so we're looking good.
Is that freshly cut grass that I smell there as you prepare for the big event?
Yeah, we got a lot of that done last night, so doing some cleanup work around here today and getting a few last minute things ready.
Well, we'll get into a little bit more about the details and what it takes and who's there helping you out, because you know how important it is. You know, when you announce an event or you're going to announce a happening, people get really excited, and then at some point somebody needs to show up and help out. So we'll get into some of the folks that help you make the Windber Minibike Reunion such a huge success. Now, this is going to be your 20th year, and for many of those folks that are listening and are friends of the podcast, they're very, very aware of the event itself. But for those who may not have had a chance, for whatever reason, Jeff, to know about the event, can you take a second and just give folks a little bit of an idea of what you have in store for mini bike enthusiasts at your event?
Well, it's a lot that goes on here. We start normally Thursday morning, opening up registration, getting people coming in here. There's normally a line waiting to get in here Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. We do have a lot of 3 miles of trails cut on the property that they can ride on. We have kids events going on, to get the kids involved. We have the flea markets open the entire weekend. I have a full pavilion here. We can seat 75 people. We have food and restrooms and shower facilities, and there's campers all over the place. It's a weekend-long event, which is just a lot of fun for the kids, no matter if they're 5 years old or 80 years old. They all have fun. So,
for those of you who would like to get a visual on the event, not only can you go to the Minibike Reunion Facebook page that Jeff has, but you can just Google that under images or videos. I recently posted a video that you sent me, Jeff, up on Joe's Minibike Reunion Facebook page. For those of you who have not had the chance to see that, you can check that out. Jeff, when this started off, I know that I recently, in fact, the photo that you sent me was of, I believe, your first bike, which was pretty damn good for a first bike. It looks like a pretty hip little Arctic cat that you sent over. I would imagine that that's where the whole mini bike thing started, just right as you were a young kid, right?
yes, it was. Well, I did live here on the property at that time, and my job when I was 5 years old we used to raise dairy cattle. So my job every morning was to check the fence line, which was about a 3 to 5 mile walk. So I wanted a mini bike to speed that walk up every morning. So worked hard on the farm, and able to go out and buy that mini bike. Probably raised $20 towards it, but it's something that my parents bought for me. And then for my 30th birthday, my parents restored that bike for me.
Oh, how cool!
They gave it back to me. So it sat in the barn, for all those years. And it was complete. It was all there, but it didn't run anymore. Got it back together and got it running, and still on occasion it'll still come out and go for a ride.
So you not only have you held on to probably that bike, obviously, but you went a little bit beyond that. Tell folks that may just need a second to grasp this. How many mini bikes, and we'll just start with the mini bikes now. I saw the photos, Ed, and I tried to do some quick math, and I think I stopped somewhere over 80, which paled in comparison. How many bikes are kind of out there without giving us a specific figure?
Well, there's probably a little over 80 bikes in the showroom that's open whenever everybody comes here that they can walk through and look at, ask questions, whatever. So there's 80 bikes, and those are either all restored bikes or very, very nice originals. Some of them have been ridden maybe once or twice.
You showed that Black Widow, I recall, in one of the
Yes.
photos. Yeah, what a pristine, and I'm sure that there's many bikes that are pretty much exemplary like that.
Yes.
Which ones
Some bike.
Which ones get all the attention when the folks show up and see those finished bikes? Are there particular models that they seem to, for whatever reasons, get more?
Sort of everything, because you got the Honda guys who are very interested in the Hondas. They like the Hondas, and I I have a CT70 that has 93 miles on it, an H model from 1970.
Great.
I have a ZB50 that's never had gasoline in it. I have that little Honda 69 Mini Trail with a sidecar, and according to the dealer
Original.
that I bought that from, he said they only sold 3 sidecars, for those bikes, and they were the Northeast distributor. So if they only got 3 sidecars in, I don't know how many actually came into the States.
We have photos.
Not many.
Yeah, we have photos that you shared with us, and
Yes.
we will have those posted on my Facebook page, and we will upload those during the podcast. The
Okay.
sidecar to the monkey bike is so cool. We have the fortune of having Honda as one of our sponsors. The local dealer supports our show,
Okay.
Jeff, and then we also had the folks from corporate have had an eye on us, largely due to the fact that we also attract modern day Groms and Ruckuses to our event. So,
Yes.
so we had them introduce the monkey bike that you have. One of the first public offerings was at our past Joe's Minibike Reunion. We were pretty happy with that. And I saw a photo that you took possession of a new one. So you're still in the game.
Yes, yeah. Mine, I took possession. My bike was built November 24th, Thanksgiving Day.
Oh,
is when
cool.
My bike was built. So it's actually a 2018. Unfortunately, my title didn't come back until January 3rd, so its title is a 2019, which really didn't want to do. But that bike, I'm taking a chance with that bike. I wrapped it up, put it in glass, and it is on display in the factory crate.
That's a really tempting item to look at, I'm sure, on a daily basis.
Yes.
Especially with all that area that you have to ride. How cool was it? How cool was it to be a young kid and to work your ass off and get recognized and get a little help so you can get your mini bike, there's a case that could have been made where you needed that for work, as your story goes, right? But how cool is it to have that big backyard?
It was so fun. Yeah, it was so fun here because we had the 40 acres here, that we could ride on, and I mean this is a country, we're a very rural area, and I probably had 10 or 15 friends who had mini bikes, so they would all come. Of course they lived in
Great.
town and wherever, and they would all come up to my place on weekends, and we would ride all weekend or all day or all whatever, and but today I've still in contact with some of those friends, and I'm like, you still have your mini bike? Well, no. We threw that away, or it went to we sent it out to the curb, or we sold it at the yard sale, or so it was a lot of fun, growing up here with the mini bikes, and to believe it or not, I never got into the motorcycles. I never got into anything any bigger. Just moved right into went from the mini bike right into cars.
Yeah, that is interesting. And another thing that I kind of found really cool is that I say this often, and we talk about this to most of the guests that appear or on the shows, that many younger kids, guys or gals who were into mini bikes, they naturally grew into having a fondness for automotive, and for hot rods. Tell us a little bit about the business side of Jeff Mihalko with your sealer and your, I don't know if it's referred to as a replacement rubber line of automotive and restoration products.
Well, we deal in clips and fasteners, window channel, weather stripping, hardware items to finish a restoration. And business was started in 1974. My parents bought the business in 1979. I have worked the business since 1979 with my parents, and built it up to what it is today. My father, who has helped and been a great help with building this mini bike reunion. Also, he passed away 3 years ago, and now the business has been passed on to myself and my wife Dawn, and we are just we're growing that business, plus still trying to keep the mini bike show going. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. We have 10 employees, and it's just constantly growing. But I don't specify in any particular vehicles. I do over 100 years of cars, and starting in the late 1800s with the horse and buggies, all the way up till the 1980s, early 90s stuff with some of the different weather strips or and all the clips and fasteners that hold all the chrome on. So it's a very big worldwide business. We have website, catalog, and it is just it's never the same every day. It's
What's the website, Jeff?
Always something exciting.
What is the web address?
RestorationSpecialties.com.
And, there's a lot of folks that are out there. In fact, one of our good friends from Arizona, Joe Petralia, he's a Lords of the Cars. He had his own TV show on Discovery, and he is one of the, I think he's in the $4 or $5 or $10 million club at Barrett-Jackson. That's a number of dollars of transactions that he's done selling cars through Barrett-Jackson. He's a car guy, and I'm sure there's a lot of other ones out there. Interesting sidelight. I bet you meet a lot of cool people who own those cars that you may have as customers that, who knows, maybe you stumble across a couple mini bike leads through some of those guys, right? Because a lot of those guys are just collectors of anything automotive.
Right. That is pretty much how I built my collection. I would take a mini bike to a car show. I had this, had a big Cadillac or whatever, stuck a mini bike in the trunk and took that with it. And, the Cadillac would sit there. And the people would say, hey, I got a mini bike like that in my garage. My grandfather used to have my grandfather used to be a dealer for those, and he still has all the parts in the garage. And would you be interested in buying that, or would you restore this bike for me? And it has turned into everything possible. I have bought out rep dealers. I have bought out Speedway dealers. I have bought out just miscellaneous mini bike dealerships, and that's where I have accumulated my collection of dual stock parts and past that type of stuff for mini bikes.
Yeah, it's a natural progression, and honestly, it's genuine too, because you become, once people start talking about you on their own, and you get that reputation as the guy, and candidly, in a rural area, it may pick up a little bit quicker, right? Than if you're out here. There's a I think there's 5 mini bike Joes out here just in my neighborhood, so it's, but Jeff, we could probably, I could certainly talk to you about so much of what you've accomplished to date, because I came into this sport having a bike myself as a young kid, and then I really kind of got out of it. And then when I came out to Southern California, like so many of us, we get to a place where, we may be able to get a few of the things now that we couldn't get before. And mini bikes, along with like enduros, became part of my interest, and I started to collect them. And before you know it, you definitely know it, I haven't got anywhere near the depth or scope of your collection or your role in this hobby, but it took things over. And I got to a place where my daughter suggested, just based on the number of bikes that I had, to do a show. And I laughed, but I always wanted to do something in an event arena. And we did it. And we're going into our 8th year. And I can tell you that just our 8th year, sometimes you wonder if you're going to be able to pull it off from year to year, So how do you do it? How do you do it going into your 20th year?
Well, I have lots of help. My wife and her friends do a lot of the cooking and feeding of everybody and taking care of registrations. My daughter normally takes care of all the registration. My son and son-in-law are, unfortunately, we get a lot of rain out here. So my son takes care of cutting the grass. My son-in-law takes care of, pulling vehicles in and out with the tractor, whatever we need to do. We've had some years that we've had mud. We've had some years that we've had dust. So it's a lot of, it's a lot of work. I keep it quiet, though. I really don't advertise this anywhere.
I noticed. Yeah, I noticed that.
And I just try to keep it quiet that way, so that it doesn't get out of hand.
With that said, is it largely comprised then, based on your low key approach, where there's a consistent group of folks that come, or do you find yourself seeing some new faces from year to year?
We still see new faces every year. Word gets out that, it's going on. I get new faces every year, and I still have that core group of, probably 200 people who have been here for the past, 15 to 17 years. It's amazing. We have 200 people already pre-registered, and we'll probably have another 100, 150 that will register, here at the event when they get here.
Awesome. Not to mention all the bikes that are in the swap meet area or in the back seat of the cars or the trucks. Or
it's amazing. Every family normally brings about 10 bikes now. It's so funny to see. You get trucks that are packed full of bikes and trailers, and you get people from all over the country. I mean, Ed has been, Ed has been out here, and I know he's been, he came out. Took care of him for the weekend, and a couple other guys from California came out with him, I believe, that year. Used to have a guy from South Korea who would come in every year. We have, people from Canada who come in, down to Florida, up to Colorado, Michigan.
Yeah, I think the camping element, too, the camping element where they can kind of stay somewhere for a couple nights without, and whether it rains the first day or if it's a little dusty the second day, you've always got that next night or that next campfire to get through. That's the beauty, I think, of what you have there as well. The fact that you can ride without, first of all, you're on grass and trails. I saw you had like an oval track as well. Is that something new, or have you always had the oval track?
Well, I have the oval track there, and it's supposed to be for the little kids to learn how to ride. And, that works for a little while. Kids get on it, and then they start ripping around and have some good times. And then, one of the parents will come over and say, "Hey, can my little one ride again?" And they're very, very considerate. They move off to the side and let the little ones ride again. So
yeah, I was going to say
that's what it's for. But it's it's to unfortunately the insurances. There's no racing. You're not allowed to race, but you can ride all you want.
Yeah, when we were
I don't say anything about it.
We were doing all we could to adopt some kind of in-motion activity at our event, because our event, Jeff, and you may have a chance at some point to take a look at some of the videos from Joe's Minibike Reunion. Most of them, there's static photos of vehicles, just there. So we have an hourly cackle fest where we can at least fire the bikes up. I have a dyno that's at the event, and I was able to pull those off by just calling them diagnostic testing areas.
Okay.
And, I was trying to just get a little bit of a course, and I was trying to, and it was genuine to a degree until they said yes. I was going to create the rider education course sponsored by your local Honda dealer and have the pylons, and you couldn't go over 5 miles an hour. And every time I brought it up as nicely as I could, they just laughed at me because they had heard that so many times before. So I have nothing in motion. You have a beautiful area that's private for the most part. You've got endless riding. You've got camping. You've got food on site. They've got camping.
It's got everything. Showers.
How many people started when you did the first event? And let's just do a little numbers game here. How many were with you when you first launched the reunion?
We had 9 of us at the first event.
And then how many do you recall you had maybe that second year? Did you see a big leap from that first to the second year?
Second year, we probably had about 50 people.
Did it continue to climb for you, Jeff? Or did you ever get to that point? Did you see a recession ever in the middle? Or has it always grown?
We pretty much have held it right around 300 people for the past, once we got to about year, I'm going to say 7.
Yeah.
We had about 300 people. I think around year 12, 14, I think we had around close to 400 people. I know in the last parade in 2016, we had 318 bikes in the parade.
The parade is something that has always been synonymous when folks talk about the event. Is that something that you orchestrate with the city? Is it still a part of your event? Is it independent? How does that work? Is it still a part of this upcoming event that you're having?
Unfortunately, the police chief and the borough council have not been able to get everything put together, and I cannot do the parade anymore because the thing is, we're in a whole our county and township and go into Windber. It's only a mile away, but still we have to cross that border. And the police are not cooperating with each other and with us, so they will not permit us to ride our bikes down into Windber. And there's no other way to get 300 bikes down to a parade.
Yeah.
In a timely manner, other than driving them all down there.
And you've historically done that, correct?
Yeah, they said they'll try to give us rollbacks and that type of stuff. And I said, it's not going to work. So our only way down there is to ride them down. So, unfortunately, the parade is out of commission right now. So I'm still fighting for it, still trying to get it back in the future here, but I don't know how well we're going to get with that.
Well, is there anything that any of the local folks can do, or any of the folks listening can do to help with the cause? Is there a place where they can maybe send in an email asking for the local support, or are you good?
I'm handling it pretty much on my own as best I can. But a letter or a note coming into Windber Borough, never hurts.
Sure. Hey, one of your bigger fans and one of the connections that was so instrumental in us talking was Karen Krause, who is.
Oh yes, Karen.
Yeah. Tell us, how long do you go back with her?
Oh, she has probably been here for 10 to 12 years, I want to say. She is a great asset to the minibike community with the work that she does, and I have a lot of her seats on quite a few of my bikes.
Yeah, we recently had her seen some of her handiwork on a seat she built for a Barris Super Stalker that Ed and the group are putting together for the Barris family, and she was our first choice for seats. And we've had a couple bikes that have gone through here that seats were such a big part of the theme of the bike and the look of the bike and the feel of the bike. You're halfway there if you've got the right wheel and tire combo, engine, and then that seat. And she did such a nice job. Yeah, she was very helpful in connecting us. The crew, you mentioned Dawn, your wife. I know that you've got a daughter. Who's kind of like your main guy that's there with you when it starts to pour or when the sun's shining? Who's the other guy that runs alongside Jeff Mihalko at the event? Let's just say a week out up until 2 days afterwards. You got a group of core guys that are there for you?
Not really. Like I said, it's myself and my wife. We do all the paperwork and all the prep and that type of stuff. My son Nathan is, like I said, here to help with anything that goes on. And my son-in-law Matt, he is here also. So it's basically, and my daughter Sarah.
Sure.
It's basically the five of us who put this entire thing on together. And then a lot of people who do come to the reunion do come and help, and offer their help whenever can be done. So, but really, and then our friends. My wife has five girlfriends that come and help with all the food, the cooking, cleaning up, and that type of stuff.
Have a great time.
Normally, as far as the bathrooms go, I don't even know who cleans the bathrooms. Somebody will just come out in the middle of the night, clean all the bathrooms, and come in the morning and the bathrooms are clean.
No, it sounds like a first-class operation.
And then the nice thing is, whenever the minibike reunion is over, everybody is so respectful of the property. Normally, I don't have any garbage to pick up. I have the garbage cans that are out. The garbage cans are normally full, and there's not piled close to the garbage cans. But as far as anything left outside, maybe a napkin blew away or something like that. But everything is pretty much the way when they came in. Yeah,
they're a good group.
They take care of themselves. It's a great group of people.
I'm fortunate to say the same. It's funny that you talk about the trash. Unlike some folks who have to, I wish I had that ability to look out and have access to the land, but I got to rent the park, right? And with renting the park, you have to rent everything else. And there's mandates that they have, whether it's security or trash or porta potties and those that are equipped for people with disabilities. There's over and over security, and the trash has become such an issue because we have always paid for the service, and the bins have been provided, but they never provided us with the insurance. which meant that we couldn't start the event without buying the insurance for the trash bins. And it was one of those things where before you know it, you'd have $600-700 in deposits and penalties for trash bins. And I told the guy that my only problem with this whole event is trash bins, and my guys have no trash. So this year it'll be my first year not having to pay for these $300-400 worth of useless trash bins, but I'm anticipating that I've got a good group of folks. We take very good care of them. We do everything we can to give away product throughout the entire event, and we give away bikes and we give away pipes and parts and carbs, and I love that. And I'm hopeful that we see that same support that you get with that same caliber of people. I've got to tell you that if we could do a half of a good job as what you've done over 20 years, we'd be hitting a home run over here.
Oh, thank you. But my key and the whole reason why I really started this event was to get the kids involved. That is the biggest key. The biggest key out there. Get the kids involved. Get them. I don't care if they're 7 years old. I want that. I have a kids show that we put on, right in conjunction with the adults, and the kids have their own area. They bring their bikes in, put their bikes on display. They do complete, the older kids who are in high school, they'll do a complete video and everything else of how they restore the bike. The little kids will have some pictures and some writings in a notebook of what they did. I want them to record everything. Where did you get the bike? Where did you get the money to restore this bike? How did you paint it? And I sit down with every kid who has a bike there. I sit down with them for about 5 minutes and I talk to them.
That's great.
And I ask them, what their favorite part of building the bike was, and what they didn't like, and how hard was it to do this, and how did you paint this, and what did you do to the engine, and how does this work, and how does that work? And these kids, even if they're 7 years old, they can tell me what they did. And I can tell if, Dad did the bike and they just were there, or if the kids actually had hands-on. And these kids all have hands-on. I want Mom and Dad to be there to make sure, bolts are tight and everything's safe and everything's good, because these kids are riding these bikes.
Yeah, one of the highlights at the events for me always is the young kids. And
yes.
Even the ones that can't walk, I'll make sure that I grab them and I sit on a mini bike. Or if they're little toddlers, I'll lift them up and I'll sit them on the bike. I want them to see them, but I want them to feel being on that bike. And some of the coolest photos that we get from the mini bike show aren't always the bikes. Sometimes just the photos of the kids. There's a little Latina girl that is dressed in a mariachi, huge gown, a puffed up gown, with long dark hair and bows in her hair, and she's next to my Bonanza CR500 chopper, which is in the background here. And that photo, I think it was close to Taco Bill's chopper, where he had that Mexican style multicolored blanket. It was one of the most, it's that photo.
Yeah,
it's that photo and some of those stories that really kind of keep you in check as to why we do these events, and. Jeff, look, I wanted to let Evil Ed get a few words in here. Now, Ed, you went to the event, and the guy that you were mentioning, I think, Jeff, was Guardrail Dave. Isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you and Guardrail Dave hung out there, and what bikes were you riding? Did the guys there locally?
Well, that first year we went, Dave had this guy that was on OMB named Shelby 28, I think it was. He drove out there with his dad, and he took one of Dave's bikes.
Okay.
And then I didn't have a bike. So when we got there, Drew was selling a bunch of parts. So I look around.
Got enough for a bike?
You got enough to build a Bonanza here. So I built the Bonanza there with the help of Jeff on some nuts and bolts and stuff, and rode it in the parade. The only thing I didn't have was a seat. But
Never stopped you before.
I took a tire, 6-inch tire with no tube, and sat it on the frame rails and rode it in the parade.
You didn't even need a bungee cord.
No.
And hey, over there, Jeff, does Dawn ride?
She does not. She doesn't get a chance too much during the reunion, but afterwards we'll ride a little bit.
So
Yeah.
you had all the iconics. Like you've got the monkey bikes, the original ones. You've got your original Arctic Cat. You've got those Black Widows. I saw a Harley Topper. I saw that Gremlin car. I'm thinking back, that shirt, that yellow shirt with that photo that looks down on you. Is that like a dirty handprint on your left pec, or is that a logo of something that's on that shirt that you're wearing? Did you ever notice that? I was wondering if that was an old minibike T-shirt that you had on there. I couldn't figure it out.
I don't think it was, but I do have lots of those old minibike T-shirts. I have all the minibike guides, all that type of stuff too. So,
and you showcase all that.
Collection doesn't end. Yes, it does.
And you let everybody get everybody that goes to the event. Is there some point where they get a little up close and personal of your private stash, or is that just for a select few?
Yes, it's there. Normally one day, Saturday afternoon or something like that, I'll open the big garage doors and I have my, all my parts are available for sale. At least the parts that I'm willing to sell. There's some good stuff in there that I just keep to myself. But I do have a pretty good display getting set up now. That there's going to be a lot of parts for sale. That I wish I had a big vendor who would come in here and because Drew and Vicky used to come in. Old minibike warehouse. They used to come in and set up and take care of the crowd of people with the simple breakdown parts. The chains would break, the clutches would give out, the brakes were throttle cables, that type of stuff.
Sure. And, tubes, tires.
So unfortunately, they're not going to be here. So I got to have. I do have all that stuff. But I don't have the time to take care of it. So my son does a lot of that stuff for me, and just get it moving here. So
we found some folks that work in the arena, and we're big fans of OMB. 4 or 5 of those boxes over there are probably Tecumseh throttle parts or grips, or they're kind of my first stop for a lot of that replacement parts. But I also have been working with our friends over at GoPowersports.com, and later on in tonight's podcast, Jeff, on our second half, we're going to have on the gentleman who puts on the Gambler 500, Tate Morgan. He puts on an endurance race up in Portland, and you've got to Google it, Jeff. It's the Gambler 500. It's called a mini moto enduro, but they're Coleman bikes primarily, and they're must be 10-inch, 12-inch. It seems like 20-inch size tires. Very very cool competitive racing. Takes on a whole different flair from some of the events that we were talking about. But this scope of mini bikes continues to grow. The popularity continues to grow, and I wonder, how does it feel to be king of this mini bike world? Because you definitely can wear that cap, considering what you've done with the hobby, what you've done with the event, your collection, and the fact that it's so genuine and deep rooted. I mean, if you weren't the king of mini bikes to some degree, you're a close second.
Well, I don't know if I could claim that or not, but I'll accept it. So, but yeah, I really enjoy it. I really do enjoy it. I am proud of what we have built here, and if it's 20 years in the making, it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears going into this thing, and it's just a great it's a great event. I wish everybody could come out and see it at one point or another. Like I said, my displays here. I have it open to the public for when it's on, and I just had a guy do a $500 donation, towards the kids. We're not sure how we're going to work that out. He said put that in my dad's name, and
how cool.
Do something with that for the kids.
Who was that? Who was that generous supporter?
That was Ed Du Bois out of Vermont.
Are there any other folks out there in your area that maybe you want to mention or give a shout out to before we kind of finish things up here?
The group of guys who restore the giveaway bike.
Who are those guys?
I'm not sure who they all are. There's a whole group of them that get together and take care of this.
Great. And what kind of bike are you restoring?
They last couple of years they did some Alexander Reynolds. They did a little Indian. we have given away. I have given
I think
away
that's
anything
Rick
from
Chapman.
a Rough Enduro
Bless
to
him.
Arctic Cat ramrod to just a little, just a little true mini bike.
Yeah, one of those little micros.
Not the micros, but just the true mini bikes with the, just a 6-inch wheel, a 3 horsepower Tecumseh motor, and
Sure.
a grip and some type of
Scrub brake.
type of way to stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, are you talking about Rick Chatton?
Yeah, Rick Chatton's one of them.
Yep.
Him and the group of guys get together and do these giveaway bikes.
Jeff, one of the things that we tried to do, and actually having this conversation with you, I'm kind of patting myself in the back a little bit because early on I tried to do some of these things. I really felt that focusing in on the kids was paramount. Not to mention the fact, people don't pay to come to my show. There's no interest in collecting monies at a gate. So I just want people to come in and enjoy the sport, and at some point get to a place where somebody who wants to address this audience could some point cash us out, so to speak. But the true reason for doing it is to get these kids involved. So I went over to Sousa Engineering, which is literally down the freeway from us, and bought a kit. And I went back a week later and bought another kit. The first kit we had it powder coated and put wheels and tires on it, and we gave that away. And the second kit we used, we made it a roller, but we broke it down and put it back together like 1 or 2 times, and we had kids come up and help put together the rolling frame. And, they had some adult supervision, but they were there doing the wrenching and putting things on backwards and putting them back on correctly. It was really cool. Are those types of things that you've done with the kids over there at your event as well?
Yes, we have.
Yeah,
Yes, we have.
that works great, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, like I said, that's the best part of it, getting these kids involved.
Hey, Jeff, if folks want to find out more about getting to the event, one more time for those of you who may have just be joining us, there's still time to get to the Minibike Reunion. It's the 20th annual. It's in Windber, Pennsylvania. You could check out Minibike Reunion Facebook page, literally, Minibike Reunion. Jeff, what suggestions would you give folks that could conceivably be within striking distance that may want to come? What would be like the first call of action? What should they do? Should they call? Should they go online? What should they do?
They can just come on out.
Where are they going to?
Friday and Saturday is the big days. The address here is 148 Minnow Creek Lane, Windber, Pennsylvania, and we're it's real nice because we have three major highways only coming into the area, so you're got lots of mountains to travel through, and but it's pretty much a simple. I'm only 5 miles off any of the 3 major highways. So it's very, very simple to get here.
If folks, for whatever reason, wanted to reach out prior to the event, how would you suggest they do that?
They can send me an email. Or they can send through the Facebook page. My daughter will take care of that. Or just call. Just give me a phone call.
Did you want to offer your email address, Jeff?
Email address would be minibike, MINIBIKE, at Atlantic, like the ocean, ATLANTICBB.net, NET.
Well, I got to tell you, I appreciate the time you took. I know that you're on the eastern seaboard there, so to speak, not quite 11:30 or so your time, and we got off to a little bit of a late start. Jeff, although this is our first time really talking, it feels like I've known you for a while. I would love to have an opportunity, and I would definitely be making sure that Ed was with me to get to an upcoming reunion. In fact, I'll give you my word that you will see me at one of your events soon, and the offer is open for you at any time to come. And we have your name's come up a few times around here, not only during the podcast, but also at our event. And we're very appreciative in not only what you've done to establish mini bikes in such a way where you have that awesome event, but we hope we'll have an appropriate time to recognize you for your efforts based on some of the things that we do here at Joe's Minibike Reunion. So thanks for your time. Tell your wife, Dawn, thanks for putting up with the late night antics, and have a great event. And maybe you can join us after the event and give us some of the highlights that took place. And I'm sure you'll have plenty of them.
Yes, I hope so. And thank you for the opportunity. And I will, try to post, try to get some stuff posted as the event's going on too. So keep checking out our website and or the Facebook page, and we'll see everybody here.
Well, before you go, actually, Ed and I have a couple things we want to talk to you about. I need an HS 400 Tecumseh, and Ed'll take any early Bonanza parts, but we'll talk to you a little bit later on off the show.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
See you, Jeff.
Okay.
There he
Have a
is.
good night.
All right.
Goodbye.
How about that?
Nice guy. Good place to go. Nothing but fun every day. When the first year I went, there was 2 little girls on mini bikes. They rode all day.
Yeah, dude. Not one phone in their hand. Probably never fighting. They
all
fall off.
day,
They laugh.
no matter where you turned, there they were on a mini bike.
Yeah. Well, and that's where it starts. That's why I like that. At some point, what happens when we all get together? We ride. And then all we do is talk about going there to ride, and what do? We sit around talking and bullshitting. So I think
these girls rode all day, every day.
And I saw that track that he said that those kids were going on. Those kids had beards, the ones I was watching. They were riding, and it was nothing like what we're going to get into in the second half. You talk about guys with beards going around a course. Tate Morgan is going to be joining us the second part of the podcast. Although we did get off to somewhat of an awkward start, we had some Facebook gremlins. We're just going to take a quick break. It's going to be a very short one this time. When we come back, it's going to be Tate Morgan, the founder and one of the head guys that is putting on this Gambler 500 Enduro. They call it a mini moto Enduro. In fact, maybe during the break, you can Google that and check him out. Tate's going to join us, and we're going to figure out what the hell was he thinking when they created that awesome event. And another one we have to put on the calendar of places to go. It's the Gambler 500. It'll be 2000. It just took place, so it'll be this time next year.
Yeah, I love Windber. The last couple times it's rained there.
You know what I didn't ask him is if the date, that historical Father's Day date that they have, dissuade some people from coming. How big of a deal? Like, to me, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because I see people like that will base their trip going there around Father's Day. But I wonder about that. But I guess in the big scheme of things, it don't matter. Yeah, it was good to have him on. Thank you again, Karen Krause, for helping us hook that up.
Karen, shout out to Karen.
Jeff Mihalko, it's the Minibike Reunion. Like you said, you can't miss it. It's not like there's anything really happening that.
Karen, I need my seat done.
And also, you had you were down in Bellflower this weekend. What was going on down there? Were you hawking parts, or
collecting old vintage mini bike parts?
What'd you find?
I found another early Bonanza swing arm bike.
What year?
Probably 65.
Craigslist?
Yeah.
Pictures?
I'm surprised I got it. It was like, I haven't been on Craigslist for a while. Let me look. Oh, shoot, there's a Bonanza.
Wait. Yeah, but when you say you haven't been on Craigslist for a while, that's like a day. Like you've missed it for a day. You feel
No, actually, it's been about a week.
Well, yeah, weeks like
I kept
fresh meat.
punching in. I kept seeing the same stuff. So I quit punching in.
Yeah. So what do you do? Do you go to newest first? Because they put you on relevant,
no,
right?
I go, on mini bikes, I just whatever comes up.
Got it.
Because there's hardly, 5 or 10.
I did take into account one of your tricks, mini bike engine, and I did find engines that were on mini. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I also did the rototiller. Although if I'm
you can punch in most anything and a mini bike will come.
I still don't think I spelled rototiller right. Is it 2 T's or 2 L's and all
You
that?
can put in Tecumseh or Briggs and Stratton.
Those are the easy ones. Yeah. And then what about your 858?
Oh, Bob Muha, my little buddy Bobby Muha, Mississippi. He's rebuilding
the
one
go-kart
for
guy,
me.
right?
He's a go-kart guy, yeah. He's like kind of old. He's like 72, but he's one of the top-notch power products builders.
How's he going to fit you in?
I don't know. He's
just tell me you are?
He built one motor for me for the first 50 bike that I have.
I was asking you about those. Are those close to 5 horsepower and
somewhere
6?
Around
yeah,
there.
yeah. That's all we need, right?
So I sent him one, and at that time he hadn't done very many mini bike.
What was he building them for?
Go-karts.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Vintage go-karts. So
do those run clockwise or counterclockwise, the go-kart ones? Do they run similar to mini bike right side?
Well, no, they run counterclockwise, most of them. So we got to talking, and I told him I want to send him a motor. And he did a pretty nice job on it. I told him I don't want it painted. And he's like, huh? No, I don't want it painted. Because it's going in a kind of ratty-looking bike. I don't. Oh, okay. And he's got that Mississippi
So you're always wondering if you're
language going,
Yeah.
kind of slow and got the accent going, and he's a cool guy, and he's got a lot of power products parts. He built racing power products for go-karts.
the go-kart guys
Then
got them
after
all.
I got mine done, there's a few people that sent him some mini bike motors,
Oh,
and
you set a little trend there?
I guess I don't know.
Well, once you kick everybody's ass, they're wondering where you got your engine done, and you tell a few people, they tell everybody, right?
Well, on OMB, there's a guy that just
You're
posted a couple pictures of power products that he did for his taco.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice work.
Well, you put them in anything, they look great. I want one for the upcoming micro that I'm getting from Temecula Bob with the front and rear suspension. I want to put a West Bend in there. And then it's like, okay, which one? And you want to get the 5-port. And then you find the one with the 5-port, and it's clockwise versus counterclockwise. I mean, they all look so great in that gray color that's coming out now that's so popular. Well, that started kind of with West Bend, that enamel gray. When that thing's clean with the right chrome and those chrome carbs, and you put on that chrome exhaust and the plate, that thing's badass. You put one of those on a Frioli.
I got a West Bend 580. Needs a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, see, and then the 810's too big, right? When you think about it, when you put them on these bikes, at least for what I'm riding. Or 820s. Yeah, the 820s, yeah.
That's a totally different motor from the 580.
Yeah, the 580 is suited for the mini bike, but that 5-port seems to be the way to go. So I'm still looking. Give a shit to shout out to Nick.
If you have a power products, you got to send it to Bobby.
Okay, yeah. Well, there you go, Bobby. And how can folks get a hold of Bobby? Is he a Facebook guy or?
You know what?
What?
I actually was on Facebook one day.
Yeah.
And when it comes up to people you might know,
He popped up.
his name popped up.
Bobby Muha in Brandon, Mississippi.
MUHA.
Yeah, all right. Well, there you go. Give him a little love there. We talked about voting for you. You go to that OMB. You got to join OMB. You go to the forum. You go to the old OMB build off. You go to the vintage class. It's Bonanza Drag Bike. You vote for that. It's the blue drag bike that Evil Ed and the upcoming Hall of Famer, Guardrail Dave, put together. Great little first part of the show there. Thanks for all the work behind the scenes, E. It's Joe's Minibike Reunion Podcast. We'll be back in a flash.
New from the makers of legendary Brake Clean, the Shop Size Brake Clean Pro Series. The larger Pro Size can has 50% more of the brake clean you've trusted for over 47 years. Also available in 3 non-chlorinated formulas.
Hey, what a great podcast we've got in store for you this second half. We're going to be with Tate Morgan from the Gambler 500. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsors from Pioneer. Ed, who else we got on tap there?
We got Green Filter, Go Power Sports, Studs, and
Go-Kart USA.
Go-Kart USA.
Yep, and our friends over at F&B.
F&B, Frank and Brian.
Welcome back, Brian and Frank. Well, I asked Linda, I said, hey, what'd you think about Jeff Mihalko with the Minibike Reunion? And, we had so many similarities. They got a small family that puts the bike event on. It's the same guys that come out, same size crowd. There's a goodness of what he's doing. I am pissed off that I have not been there yet.
Oh, it's great.
And now knowing that he has, because the first thing that I imagine everybody asks the guy when they see his shit is, you want to sell that bike and you want to sell that. And he probably hates that, right? Even we hate that. Imagine a guy with a collection status like him. But he gave a little window because when he's ready to sell, is when we're ready to buy. I'm thinking, because he's probably got it. He's not selling replacement chains. Like he's selling good chain covers and original this and original that. God forbid you get a bike. That could be cool. Just go there with some cash, buy a bike from him and go. So thank you, Jeff Mihalko and Don. Thanks for sharing your time with him. That was pretty cool.
There's people that go there, in campers and stuff, and they bring stuff for sale. They bring complete bikes.
Well, it's a swap too.
Yeah.
That's part of it. Yeah, that's part of it. And I would think that like an older crowd to a degree, those are the guys who got the bikes, man.
Yeah, middle-aged.
Yeah, okay. 40s though, right? 40 plus, somewhere around there? Yeah. Good times. And on the other spectrum, you do these, what do they call it when you watch too much, same show, binge watching. I must tell you, I started to hear about the Gambler event from a guy, Josh Pickney. I think that's how you pronounce his name. What's happening, Josh? Josh is a Facebook friend of Joe's Minibike Reunion, and he was bringing up the Gambler event. And then I started to hear about it from our friends at Go Power Sport, and then our friends over at Coleman. So, in the midst of all the stuff that we're up to, I'm not on top of everything in the mini bike world. And what an idiot I was for missing out on this. It's the Gambler 500 race. It's promoted as a mini moto enduro. There was another link that just kept popping up. It was the Gambler 100. There were other videos that I saw that were automotive in nature. And I'm getting in the sense it's all part of this one big, fun, wild, crazy team that I want to know more about and see more of. So we played some of the teaser videos, which would probably give you just a little bit of a hint of what's in store. They are great group of guys, it appears, with a great attitude. The course is tough as shit. These are not 4 or 5 inch by any mean mini bike races. I was wondering why the Coleman bikes seem to take such a strong prominence there. Probably because they're so easy to get into and they're big. This is a big tire event. This is an ATV tire event, right? These are Kenda fucking tire events. They're a lot of modified Predators. You're not going to see some 5 horsepower Tecumseh. Sorry. If you do, it's going to be some modified with some crazy, internal build. But they're welders on the fly, these guys. So they're definitely, they're not just bolting on parts. These guys are fixing on the fly, and it's everything from chains falling off to people falling off. It's the Gambler 500, and I wanted to have Tate Morgan, who is the guy that always pops up when you dig into that activity. Tate was going to be on prior to his event that recently took place in Portland, and we had a schedule change, which also affected Jeff. Jeff is okay because his event's coming up, and I don't know that we're really going to attract people to go to his event, but on the West Coast, and knowing the people that watch this, shit, if you told Joe Petralia and those Arizona guys, or even Jake Moe and Fredo and all these other nuts that hang around with us, if we knew about that Portland event, we would have been up there. It was that cool. Not all of us would have had bikes and ridden, but we would have brought something.
Oh yeah, I'm too old for that.
Yeah, we'd work on them. And I'd cook, and we'd let Jake
I'm too old to be jumping over fire pits.
I'd get the parts. We'd let Jake build it. We'd let Home Alone ride it. And then we just bring Charles up there to talk shit. So we'd have a good group. So we're going to get to Tate Morgan in a second. I want to give a few shout outs because here's what's happened. We've got a lot of new folks that are coming to the Facebook page. In fact, Tate Morgan was one of our newest, what do we call them? Friends on the Facebook page. It's Joe's Minibike Reunion. And we've had some new folks, and I want to recognize them only because I tell them I do. Austin Wada, Zach Ugal, Oswaldo Soto, Dean Barrett, the Green Hornet, Irving. I mentioned, and I wanted to thank you again, all the guys from the 1% gang that came on last podcast. That was a cool thing.
Yeah,
We hope you guys had a good time.
All together again.
Yeah, folks were asking about whether or not there's a chance that you guys would get back together and have your hangouts, or why you stopped. How do you address that?
Well, we used to race at this one place up in, I guess it would be Moore Park.
Yeah.
It was like a go-kart track. And the neighbors started complaining that the noise was scaring their horses and stuff.
Well, the dust too. They say you're screwing up their crops,
so
right?
That kind of got out of whack. And then
That same thing happened to Paul's deal too, right?
we had this other place up there at Paul's Fun Day.
Yeah, Oxnard.
And people were riding in the strawberry patches and stuff, and the owners didn't appreciate that.
I didn't know why that they all got pissed so quick. That was it. It wasn't because we were riding. It was because they were riding. What were they growing? Cherries or strawberries? Guy was going nuts because the fucking strawberries.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah, and that wasn't cool. But
You see the picture of me where I'm riding with some stupid half helmet on and that little Rutman
I think so.
cop car behind me. I don't have a friggin' clue.
Yeah, basically all the stuff just died out, and
Yeah, it happens
we
too.
all went our own ways.
Well, that's all the more reason why it was good to get those guys together.
We were racing at the Ventura Speedway once in a while too.
Yeah, they told some of those stories.
Yeah.
Plus, Paul was into it.
Paul knew the guy that at the Ventura Speedway,
Yeah.
so we raced on that track a few times.
What was really nice is to see the dynamic with young Justin Eichler. In fact, where is he?
Justin's got a date tonight. He won't be with us.
What's the guy's name?
I don't know. He wouldn't tell me the name, but he said he had a date. So I told
Good for him.
I said, "Oh well, you can still watch the podcast." He goes, "Why?" I said, "Well, isn't that what you do on a date now? You both sit there with your phones in
Look at
your
the
hands.
phone. Yeah. Could you imagine?
You
It's
order
true.
some food and you're both playing with your phones."
Yeah. So
He goes, "No, I leave my phone in the truck, and she entertains me." I go, "Oh, honey, do this and honey, do that, huh?"
you were mad dogging him during the last podcast. He took it well though. I think it was like a hazing. I was trying to be nice to him. You know, it was his idea to get all you old bastards together. You're fucking turning him out to be a whipping boy. Do this, do that. You know, man.
I thought he was a fluffer.
Well, he's my kind of guy. I bought a set of wheels for the taco back there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I bought some wheels from him. So thank you, Justin. You know, I'm always thinking of you. Our man Jake Moe, Ian Cordova. A couple things that I tried a pop-up garage sale online.
Yeah.
So I say, hey, in 2 hours, I'm going to have a pop-up garage sale. Come right back here, like Facebook Live. I get the table out. I grab some parts. I had the mini bike right here, the Arco Reynolds with the flathead Briggs. I had the V-twin. I had some engines. I had pipes. I had Honda CT70 parts. I put them all on a table. So I posted up there. I say, hey, pop-up garage sale, Joe's Minibike Reunion in 2 hours. A lot of the responses I got were, well, you know, how much? It's like, no, that's what the fucking pop-up's about. You gotta come back. If I tell you the prices now, it's a for sale thing.
Right.
The pop-up is you come, boom, all of a sudden I'm here, you're buying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sales, 680 up, $650.
I didn't even see that.
I sold the bike. I sold CT70 parts. I sold a tank, a little steel Red Clinton tank to Calvin Carisi. I sold the Green Hornet, a cool little Scorpion pipe, and a clutch, a Hilliard clutch.
Well, really?
Yeah, so
Where was I?
it's the weekend. You're tough.
I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
Where did it come up at?
I'm on Facebook page, Facebook Live. It was some holiday. Wasn't it Memorial Day? I
Yeah.
think it was a Memorial Day deal, so maybe that's why.
Oh,
You were in Indy. Weren't you doing, didn't you start the race in Indy?
No.
At your house you did, didn't you? I start every Indy 500. So
I
while
was working on something at the garage.
yeah, we'll speak about that too, because next week hopefully we'll be working on the Barris bike. But while I did the pop-up, an interesting happened. I got an email, or I got a note from a guy, and it's like, hey, what's that engine with the red pull start? I said, oh, that's a Clinton. I think it's a 3.5 or a 4. And I said, I also have another pull start for it, and I got a couple tanks. He said, how much you want for it? And guys, it's Richard, his name was. I said, oh, Richard. I was thinking that this Richard guy was another guy. And I told you, sometimes in Facebook you do that.
Yeah.
Bill's Bob and Bob's Bill. I had something with fucking Scott today where I almost sent the CT70 parts to another Scott. I was talking to a Scott about a West Bend engine, and then a guy from Scott responds to some ad on Marketplace. I'm at this point at 60. Scott. Fucking, there's only one of you. So I fortunately sent it to the right things, but I got mistaken for who I thought was coming to buy this Clinton engine. I was expecting this other guy. Mm-hmm. I'm working. I'm on the phone. I'm doing my deal. I'm on the phone. One person loves me. Other person's screaming at me. I hear, it's like, great, another realtor. Go on and sell your house, right? So I'm already a little guarded.
Pest control.
Yeah, today was pest control. I like your style. It's like, not my place, man. I was like, get out of here. Door knocks. Linda's out. Probably at Ralph's. She lives there usually. She's probably there. I go to the door. I put the client on hold. I go to the door. I open up the little, and there's a guy like this, smiling on his face. And I go, yeah. It's like, doesn't say anything. Just smiled again. It's like, dude, what do you want? I'm not selling. I'm not buying anything. He's like, it's me, Rich. Oh, fuck. I said, Rich, the guy with the engine. I said, man. I said, I'm sorry. First of all, I said, I was working. I said, but I think I thought you were somebody else. And he's like looking at me. So he's probably loved the podcast. He's been coming to the shows all these years. Now he thinks I'm a total lunatic asshole, right? So I bring him in here. He's still kind of in shock because I've all but screamed at him. It's like, dude, what the fuck do you want? I'm asking him. It's like, leave me alone. Why are you here? So I gave him the little Clinton engine. I showed him some things. He just wanted to get out of here. So, Rich, I'm sorry, man. I'll probably never see that guy again. Too much shit going on. All right, let's get to our next guest. Our next guest is Tate Morgan. Tate's with the Gambler 500. He's doing what I wish I could do. Let me go over here to the phone. He's running a race, or what appears to be a series of races, where you better be ready, boys. Hardcore, bring a welder, no, nothing pretty, nothing cute. These are hardcore mini bikes that are, my phone's playing some games on me here too. You better have an engine that could last. You better know how to ride. You better be okay with not returning home. And you better be up for some formidable competition, because the size of the dudes that are competing, although the guy who came in second place, there was a dude that I've been keeping an eye on. He came in second place. He had what appeared to be like a modified Bonanza. At least it looked that way from the seat and some of the rear suspension. He was, let me close to getting Tate Morgan on the phone. He came in second place. And we'll find out more about who won the race when we get Tate on the phone. And if there's anybody that's watching the podcast now that may come to us as a result of Tate being on the show, welcome. I'm Joe. This is Evil Ed, Joe's Minibike Reunion Podcast. Glad to have you guys with us, and hopefully we'll have a chance to meet some of you guys up close and personal at the time. Let's see how this is working, E. Oh, look at that.
Hello, this is Tate.
Hey, Tate. This is Joe and Evil Ed with Joe's Minibike Reunion Podcast. How are you, brother?
What's up, guys?
What's happening?
How are you?
Oh, we're doing pretty good. We had a little technical gremlins that were giving us a little shit, so we had a little bit of a slow start. Thank for your patience, Tate.
So are we live right now? I was watching you earlier, and then I got another call, and I just jumped back off it.
Well, here's how it works. We are live on Facebook Live. If you have friends that may be interested in listening in or who are wondering how they can hear this now, if they go to Facebook and go to Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast and they like it.
I already shared the link. They're already on there. I started a watch party.
Oh, thanks, man.
I started like 2 hours ago. They're still there.
Well, with that said, there's probably about 3 people listening now.
Okay.
Hey, Tate, first of all, welcome to the podcast. Your name in the event kept popping up, as I was saying earlier. I'm not sure if you were with us prior to the second half starting, but we ran a little bit of a clip, one of the clips that you had sent me, and I also had a chance to maybe give my take on it because I had heard about the event from some guy, Josh Pickney, who was one of your competitors and raced.
Yep.
I think he fell out after the 60th lap or the 60th shot. I'm not sure. But he kept bringing it up, Tate, and then I had heard about it from Bob at Go Power Sports. He's one of our sponsors of the show, and he says, hey, are you going to be there? And that's when I really started to feel like shit because everybody that I really liked kept asking me about this, and I had no clue. So I did a deep dive, and I was hoping to have you on prior to your event. And I apologize, but I can tell you that we'll definitely be promoting it from now on. Tell us a little bit about the event. If someone just came down in a spaceship and had no clue about anything, how would you describe your gambler event to those folks?
So number one, I got to correct you. We have like probably well over 100 events total a year. We do things from like lawnmowers. Our big thing is junker cars. So that's where we started. We started just a few buddies back here in Oregon. It was underground for like 3-4 years, and then we had a viral video hit like 30 million views. So then we just kind of branched off into cheap stuff, and where I got it stuck is that the enduro event is the first of its kind. And it's something that I had always wanted to do with mini bikes, but success of this event really belongs to Brian Toller and Frank, the 2 guys who kind of took the reins over for the event here in Oregon, as I wanted to focus on a broader scale of doing mini bike events and all these other states that we have these car events in. So, number one, those are the guys who deserve all the credit.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Favorite event of the year because I get to go and I get to go race. I get to show them and I get to just jump on it and I get to go have a ton of fun. And so, the Oregon event is definitely the premier event, same way that our car event is. But we've got them in Iowa, in Nebraska, in Southern California. We're going to Iceland. Mini biking Iceland in mid-July.
Amazing.
Actually, I got to give a shout out to Coleman Power Sports for that one because they're the ones who are providing us with some mini bikes. We're going out with some guys
Studded tires?
and Iron Air Magazine and Automobile, and they're going to have a bunch of cool coverage and stuff. Well, plenty of cool photos from Iceland, the land of the midnight suns.
Yeah, there has been, obviously, due to the popularity with your videos and the fodder that you produce to make those videos so popular. I was mentioning earlier that when I would Google it and I would search it, I did see, cars. I saw the 100, I saw the 500, and we were curious as to find out just the depth of this whole Gambler series, and then particularly the focus on the mini bikes. The clip that you had sent me, I think you had sent me a couple Instagram clips and maybe a YouTube clip. The YouTube clip, that was that looked like our cup of tea. There had to be hundreds of modified bikes in that Coleman platform, in that big tire platform. The guys just doing shots and jumping over the campfire. It was. Who started that event, and what's the spirit behind that besides the obvious?
Okay, so the whole thing is impracticality and cheap fun, right? So we go buy cheap cars and do this big thing. We're gonna have 3,200 cars at our event here in Oregon this year. 7,000 people with this giant Mad Max, Burning Man like car rally event that we've created here, and then put the platform up and say, hey, you want to have some cool fun and just go run with it. The next, and what we did, we were shooting a pilot for a TV show, and I called my buddy Fred Williams with Dirt Every Day, had done an episode on the Coleman minibikes. I don't know if you've ever.
We did.
Did you ever see that episode?
Fred is a kind of a member of the Roadkill family, and I worked with Roadkill in a sales capacity over the years.
Oh,
yes,
awesome.
and that video.
They fought with Fred over who was going to do the Gambler 500 episode, the car episode. And Fred said, "Hey, this is off-road. It's mine." So him and Dave came out. I was working on my computer, sending out my emails and marketing stuff, and I was watching Discovery Channel, and Chris Jacobs came on and was pitching. I was on Discovery Channel a second ago.
Great.
In our overlanding episode, I was blown away. I'm not used to this whole, I was selling roofing shingles 3 years ago.
Good for you, man.
This whole car thing, I've always been a fan, not a proprietor of fun.
What is go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, we got old Fred to say, hey, let's throw some mini bikes in the back of a PT Cruiser for when it dies, and we can pretend that we need to ride the mini bikes out. Well, all three will ride the Alcantara Wells. The PT Cruiser shits the bed without the camera cruise around, and we had to ride the mini bikes to safety in the middle of the night. From then on, we knew that mini bikes was just going to be a part of our lives. They're cool, fun. Anybody can buy a dirt bike and be a hero. Mini bikes are fun because they are a challenge to ride.
Sure.
They are tough. You don't want to ride them more than 40 miles an hour. Like they're terrifying. And then we figured we translate it more to the gamble thing, which is an enduro. So we said, hey, mini bike enduro. Brian Toller came and said, hey, we want to organize another gambler event. And I just had the funnest thing ever in the back pocket. And I said, dude, how about this mini bike thing? And then that's how that was born. And absolutely, just killed it. The organ event is so much fun. We had over 200 mini bikes here this last year.
It seemed like more. Yeah, I was watching the video, and you have them all lined up, and I was having a really good visual until that guy, his girlfriend lifted up his skirt, and he had a bikini bottom on with his hairy ass showing.
Oh man!
But it looked
There's no holds barred out here,
dude. I thought you had
Bob. Bob and Go Power Sports. I mean, they're a ton of fun, but man, I mean, if you're kind of a Texas conservative, you come up to Portland, you're going to get an education.
Well, just the
but again, you keep saying my mini bike event, and it's really it's the Oregon Enduro, and it's those guys. I have a ton of fun out there, and I kind of manage the culture on a 40,000 foot view level. And it's no hope, but nobody really cares who wins. Everybody comes up in the race, tries to race, and at the end of the day, it's just about having fun. Like we all just kind of ride side by side. We had only one life flight this year, so that was good.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about fatalities. I was certain that we'd have. How many broken bones do you typically do? You see a broken foot or a broken arm or a broken whatever at least once or? Yeah. Well, fun aside, it's a pretty.
These things are terrifying, and then we modify them. And my mini bike was built by Jesse Combs. She came out last year and she raced with us. And then my trick with that is I just get to keep whatever she leaves behind every time she comes out and has fun with us.
Jesse is a.
Got a Tillotson Go Power Sports built motor on it, and it goes ungodly fast. So yeah, people hurt themselves out there.
Jesse is a kind of a endorser of CRC, who's also been a part of our podcast over the years, and we actually built a taco mini bike for CRC that they gave away. She's also pretty,
nice.
Yeah, and she's a kick-ass gal. Not only is she a great beacon for gals in the motorsports industry, but she don't fool around. She's a tough competitor. You talk about broken bones and still coming back to battle. She's like a war-torn vet. You've been able to attract some prominent folks to the event. You've gotten the attention of people nationwide. You're going to Iceland, for Christ's sakes. Never in your wildest dreams would you thought that you're going to be doing all this so quick. I mean, like you said, 3 years ago, you were doing something totally, completely different, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Well, I mean, we were always doing this, but we were doing it kind of like the way that everybody else is, right? I mean, we didn't invent the concept of cheap fun. We were able to just kind of give it a name. And so, yeah, no, I would have never. Yeah, we've got. I mean, 6 Hour was my title sponsor last year. We have a deal with Interco Tire and Yakima, KC Highlights, and Coleman.
Amazing.
It's just been amazing. My kids just rolled by the driveway on their Coleman go-kart. We got about 5 acres here, and they're visiting the neighbors. My 9 and 11-year-old son and daughter were in it, and it's definitely a weird world we live in. But it's as long as you just kind of open it up to what's next, always say yes to everything, and be fun and cool and embrace whatever challenges that come your way. I mean, man, it's just things just work out.
Yeah, it's the passion.
On top of that, I was dealing with a roofing salesperson and dealing with cancer 3 years ago, and now I'm 3 years into remission, and doing
Congratulations.
an absolute dream job. So it's awesome.
Well, hopefully it it puts your mind in a different place, and you see a lot of people having the time of their life where you could conceivably going through not so great of a time of your life. It's a nice balance that you deserve. All things considered, it puts things in perspective too. It's funny how these little mini bikes that were so prized and coveted with kids come back and be so much of a part of your life as you get older too. You know, it's just it's silly by saying that, but it's kind of true. Let me ask you a couple things. Some of the folks that I was unaware of, and you know, we for better reasons we were pointing to you as kind of like the face, but who are those guys again that really are the names behind the event, and who are the guys that, you know, the event just ended? Who are the guys that are going to be working on it again already for next year? Who are some of those faces that may not get the limelight that are definitely big parts of the success of the event?
It's definitely Brian Frank. I mean, in those guys just absolutely just killed it. They're selfless. I think they might have taken a couple laps, and it's kind of there's a tipping point to how many people can attend to the point where it becomes a job. I mean, I started the car rally because I always wanted to do it. I wanted to race, and then after year 2, I think I had to acquiesce to a more management position, and there was no money in it. We never had a sponsor or any fees. You know, I never would have asked my friends for nobody really cared what we were doing. That was great. But now it's just such a huge beast, and the goal is always break it up more and more, right? Because the more people doesn't mean more fun.
Yeah, how true.
The smaller, more intimate stuff is really where it's at. So, like, Cars and Camera came out. You know, John and those guys.
Sure do.
Come out. You know, because of the mini bike kind of culture.
Yeah, I've been hearing. I just keep hearing about it and hearing about it and hearing about it. And you know, although we're in Southern California and we do have the luxury, I guess, of being a part of some of the cool stuff, you can't keep up with the growth of the hobby. And it's not as if, honestly, I'm as aware of everything that's going on. And that's why your network of friends, but the Go Power Sports are on the opposite side of the scale. For example, those guys are aware of everything that's going on, and they're a great gauge. And I think that they're also having the support that I see that you have with Coleman and Go Power Sports. You've been able to secure some support from some of the guys that are, you know, able to financially, you know, put some oomph behind the event. Why is it that you think the Coleman platform is so popular with your riders?
The Colemans are just the big tires. I think you touched on it earlier, and the big tires is part of about the guys who come out with the doodle bugs and the little tires and kind of pocket bikes show up. And we've got huge rock,
I saw
fields and stuff. This isn't the this isn't Tomb. It's not the Texas Outlaw flat track stuff, which we've done, and we get crushed. Those guys, those like doodle bugs, the small tires, they're threading around those circle tracks. But man, once you put us out on a 4-mile track out in the middle of the desert, you're on an endurance platform, which those Colemans just really seem to rise to the top, and that's we love them. And there's certain mods that I would do. I've really enjoyed the CVT and the 62 sprocket.
Sure.
Getting too deep into the motor,
you want dependability out there.
Yeah. It's all this is an endurance race.
Yes.
You want to be able to finish.
You got it.
Jessie was the only woman to finish last year, and then she was the second person. She was in second place, time-wise, which I think really pissed her off. A silver medal. And surely doesn't want to be put into some sort of gender class. So.
Oh, that's for sure. And let's face it, she's talented, that gal. And there's another example. Yeah. So your phone's ringing every day then with somebody who saw about it, who heard about it, who wants to know more about it. That's got to be pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, we don't. I don't give my phone number out. But yeah, no, we ring off. We did Jalen's garage a few months ago, and Jay came out here to Oregon, and we spent the day with him, cruised around in cars, and we had a bunch of Colemans up there that day. And then we did the Overland. You go over to Motor Tune on the band. The Overland, which relates to what you guys do. I mean, you guys are into karting and all that sort of jazz. We're running the little 20-horse Briggs and Stratton, vertical drive laugh at ourselves. We're not taking ourselves too seriously.
Well, without a doubt. And there's that newness too, that when you share that same, you ever notice you bring a newbie in and they get that light bulb moment and they get it. There's parts of that video that I was looking at today and I wasn't able to run through all of them. Speaking of that, when folks want to get like a really good take on some of the cool videos that are out there, where will you direct them? Where's the best place for all the Gambler good videos?
Well, gambler500.com, that'll get you to it. We've got a little bit about minibikes on there. But if you go onto our social, I really love the Instagram. Words are dumb. Pictures and videos are fun. So just at the Gambler 500 is our Instagram. And from there, you can find Gambler 500 minibike and minibike Gambler 500 and all the offshoots. If you just push hashtag Gambler 500 in there, you'll find a lot of minibike content and then a lot of this cheap car content, which is, I think, probably relates a lot to your people. I mean, these aren't we leave egos at the door. When you're
Amen.
You're a grown man on a little 6.5 horse minibike, you're not trying to impress anybody. You're just out there have fun, and everybody, it's this army, right? We've got 7,000 people, out at the big event, and everybody's best friends, which is hard, which is interesting to do from a male-dominated motorsport, testosterone, sport. Everyone's always so guarded at drag events or at the dunes, all these sort of things. The guy's wearing a dress, riding a mini bike.
Yeah, there was a lightness to there was a
laugh.
lightness to the crowd. There was a camaraderie that comes with the fact that, hey, look, man, it's one thing if your chain flew off. It's another thing if your frame bent. There's guys out there with welders. Everybody was doing congratulatory shots. The trophies are beer cans.
Oh, yeah.
I was looking at some posts after the event because I felt kind of guilty because I did want to so much get you on before the event took place. But there was a guy, Brian Roca, who I think came in second place. Who were the in addition to Brian? Do you have the memory of who won this year's Gambler?
No, honestly, I don't pay attention to that at all.
That's why I was casual when I asked. They're all winners.
Yeah, Steph Brooks is the winner in my mind. I think he Ironmaned it again. We call him Miyagi. He's an old hardtail guy. He's sort of, ripped, 2,000 miles of Sturgis every year. And he's just a total stud. And he came on Ironman it. He won last year. He's going in Ironman it. And then he did it again this year. So Steph is my man. Like that guy, I love this shit out of that
And
guy.
like guys like Steph and Brian, are they, Tate? Are they there with like a crew? Is that kind of the deal? Like I'm a team more than I know. I saw that video of the dudes with the long stretch Continental with the bikes in the back and the pop up tent.
Sketch limo. Great. Ben Niles, Jason. Jason explained things. You're kind of a crew, I guess, but we're all a crew. You couldn't walk past a campfire out there
without stopping.
Someone offering you a slug of whiskey or a beer or something, or to come in and hang out. Like
nice.
We're all a crew, and not just me. It's you. Where you guys show up, man, you're gonna have 2,000 new best friends there. It's something fun. I mean, it is competition. I'm out there. We had Rugged Radios come out, and they brought a bunch of three-wheelers. I don't think they were doing it, but we didn't advertise that was okay, and it's really not okay. But they're Rugged Radios. They're big, supporter of Baja.
Sure.
In general, and they thought it'd be funny if they came and crash a party. But they ripped by me on these little two-strokes. And so I'm getting on it. I'm riding way above my own skill level, and I just dumped and Supermaned over a bunch of big rock piles. My front wheels turned sideways, probably going 40 or something. And
that hurts.
I ragdolled and just about tore my nipple off, and my legs were all bruised to hell. I was wearing a nice Bell Model helmet, and
good for you.
I smacked on a rock real bad, but got up, kind of dusted myself off, and didn't wait around too long to kind of acknowledge any of my injuries.
Or let anybody see you crying, right?
It's competition, but until it's till you realize that.
No, it happens. Despite the smallness, which kind of equates to the cuteness, and these things will still fuck you up if they get the chance.
Oh man, people modify these things in ways I don't even understand. You've got in the SoCal the Squirrel Gang.
Yeah, man, those guys are they're going fast.
I love those guys' video. And I've been trying to hook them up with their SoCal gamblers. There's SoCal Minibike event that happens down, outside of LA.
What do you know?
Keep with those guys. Just go out there and with them, and Stephanie is running that event.
Maybe you can connect us after the podcast. We'd love to find out more about that. The Squirrel Gang.
Then use your connections. Get the Squirrel Gang out there.
Yeah.
I want to see them doing desert stuff. But
Well-
man, those guys are hilarious.
Well, we watch those guys and we see some of their videos, and actually have had the Squirrel Gang as well as a lot of the folks that run down there in Anna Street come up to the event. It's kind of the Joe's Minibike Reunion is kind of their event on that scale. We're a static display event. These guys want to ride.
Yeah.
We've been riding out at Antelope Valley along the aqueduct with a group out of the Lancaster Palmdale area, Jake Moe and his guys, and that's where you have a chance to make some things happen. They got bikes going on pretty quick out there, 70 miles an hour plus.
So cool. Oh, geez.
And that's beautiful. That's on pavement.
Thank you.
You can go off-road. I experienced a little bit of going fast recently, and it's nice to do once in a while. These guys like at Squirrel Gang, they're riding 80 miles an hour with flip-flops and tank tops and no helmet, so we try to get them to think smart because, they're all colorful, funny, talented, fearless little bastards, but sometimes they miss the obvious because, you need to protect yourself. So we don't want to get into that as much as we're mindful of that. I'd love to find out more about how maybe we can get involved with your event. We'd love to find an opportunity to come up. We'd like to have a chance to pre-promote what you're doing through our podcast and through our event. You're welcome anytime to join us again on the podcast. Or, man, I can imagine just seeing a couple of those bikes that competed at the Gambler that hadn't been washed. I'd love to have some of those bikes displayed at my show or seeing them at the SEMA show.
It's worse for the wear. If you parts, will sit in the back of my truck. That'd be awesome. And we are a total freeform. Anything that you want, some sort of fun idea, we are in. Like there's no area that we won't touch or get excited about. Like if it's fun, and we are there. We're gonna promote it over our channel. So if any of your listeners and participants want to come do something fun or have something they want to promote over our airwaves, we'll do it. We're just free and easy. We're a pirate ship.
Yeah, also some of our sponsors, some of which we share. We talked about Go Power Sports and CRC for that matter, but the friends over at Studs, they're based out of Michigan, Studs Power Sports, but Eric Shingles, the guy there, is, he's a mini bike fanatic, and those guys are big tire guys out in Michigan because of the snow.
Yeah.
They street race, and they're serious street racers. The guys at F&B Racing who build everything from complete bikes to custom engines, they're known for pipes. They would be great. And I think the folks even at American Flyer and Go-Kart USA, they build kit bikes. They have a bike, like a kind of a pseudo Bonanza kit. So a lot of those folks that are in our world should probably be made aware of what's happening in your world. And, it's just one of those things where if we could...
We're not, Detroit's got such a huge mini bike population, but we had over 1,000 Gambler cars at the Gambler event this year for the third animal. And although we do support Coleman and Go Power Sports and other guys who facilitate fun, they don't like jacks. I mean, they say, hey, we want to go to Iceland. And they're like, okay, we will get everything you need to Iceland. And that's how they facilitate all the fun stuff. But, we want everybody else to have fun, too. There's no exclusivity. We don't, we'll have Monster Moto out or whoever the Go Power Sports has their own brand now. I think they sell, too. But they brought out a bunch of bikes.
Yeah, and you know what? There's the key point too, is that you're hooking up with folks that have new bikes that you can go buy. Many of the bikes that are popular in our world down here are those bikes that are not manufactured anymore. To some degree, you can exclude Taco, but the Bonanzas and the Little Indians and the Trail Horses and even some of the other bikes, whether they're little Petros or Big Bear Scramblers. They're gone. There's no more 340 Dusters. You can go buy a new.
That's what the sport is there for, right? You guys bikes finding treasure hunting.
Yeah, there's that element, but with Coleman out there and with the guys from Go-Kart USA and to your point, the guys at GoPowersports.com having their own model now, it's feeding into fire. And it keeps the young guys in there. You can go buy a mini bike in a box for $300, right?
My dad had I think it was putting him there something growing up, and I brought home one of the Colemans, and he had been on a bike 30 years or longer than that. I don't know how long it's freaking been.
At least.
And man, he jumped on that thing and disappeared, just on full throttle. And he was 65 years old, and man, he was just a kid.
Hey, Tate, first of all, thanks again for the flexibility. We were hoping to have you on a little bit earlier. We'll take you when we can get you. It sounds like it's a fun first organization. It's straight from the heart. Congratulations on your remission with your challenges with cancer. We hear about that, unfortunately, way too many times. You're the living proof that life goes on, times about 100.
If you live long enough, everyone's going to get it. So.
Hey, and somewhere down on our trails, whether it's the upcoming Off-Road Expo or Sand Sports Super Show or SEMA Show or somewhere, maybe we'll have a chance to hook up. We seem to run in similar circles.
Every year, we'll come down. We'll come hang out. We're just usually hanging out at the Jean Grey Lake bed, jumping cars, doing dumb shit.
Nice.
So we're down there. Then you call me anytime. Call me randomly. That would be the best. If I'm you guys are doing a podcast and I'm reading my kid's story or something. I'm terrible about answering my phone. I do it every time.
Hey, any shout outs that you want to give before we let you go?
To this audience, it's shout out to Free Cool Fun and Coleman and Go Power Sports. Those guys get it, man. So and you guys. So thank you.
All right. Well, thanks once again, Tate Morgan from the Gambler Series. I had a great time talking to him. We'll catch you the next time. Tate Morgan from Gambler 500.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Yep. I just love that, Guys just kind of doing it.
Cars. Oh.
Yeah. I don't know. Like if I got diagnosed for cancer, it's like my head be somewhere else. He's out there having fun with mini bikes and a lot more. Think about it. Coleman calls you up. It's like, yeah, we're going to bring like 50 mini bikes to Iceland for a couple of weeks. You want to go and get paid? All right. I didn't get it finished to finish up some of our shout outs. Maybe in the meantime, E can take a look at his crystal ball, find out when we're going to do our next podcast. Our next podcast, I haven't figured out our guest, although I've been trying to get Dave Miller. Dave wants to wait. Dave's on the cusp of announcing something. I don't know if it's a part or something, but it's probably worth the wait. Plus, Dave don't fool around. If he's not ready to go on, he's not coming on. It won't be a problem for us to find somebody. We hope you enjoyed tonight's podcast. We will. I thank the 1% gang. Dante, my Grom rider. In fact, I'll be ready to start riding my Grom now. My shoulder's healed up. It's been a year. Bill and Tommy Campbell. Carl Maslowski, Jimmy Burrow, Cliff Short from Spirit USA Minibikes, John Kalinkowski, John Bailey, Leon Cable, my buddy Tomasio, Joe D, Brian Datner, Stephen Brooks, Nick Tucker, John Benet Ramsey, Leonde Kyles from Detroit Minibike ATV Scooters, Kevin House, Duran Bagwell, Dane Walton, Jake Moe, Fredo, Rafa, Midgie, Ian, Judge Update. Okay. We have... I like this too. We're going to move around some judging. Some of the judges who come in and spend all their time judging don't get to enjoy the event as much. They feel awkward with their bikes being judged. So we'll have a little bit of a change. We've got some new guys that are going to come in and help us. So thanks to those folks who have offered to maybe be a part of the judging. MDB, Justin offered to help out. We had my buddy Toby McCaslin, Joe from Arizona. So we still have Cliff. Still have Ian at your leisure. When you want, you come down there, you take a look at things. So, and also, I'm not sure if we're going to keep that same process where you got judged as you came in. I think we'll let folks park and then we'll announce the judging and folks will be able to kind of get in a specific line and just roll their bike and bring them over and bring them back. We're going to talk about that because we've got some extended time now and we've just been trying to find ways that work best for everyone. So we've got some different judges. We've got maybe a different timing to that. I'm looking forward to that. Once again, it's Joe's Minibike Reunion. When is it, Ed? When's the date of the Minibike show? The 19th. October the 19th. Karen Krause, thank you again. Greg Delia, the Long Island Minibike Madness page. Kevin Blakeman, what's up, Baseman? Kenny Herman, Brian Frank. We mentioned Jason Gutierrez, my nephew Corey. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Richard White, I told that story about you. Scott Kursky, AV Stylistics, Scott Kursky, Nick Herbert, Scott Moody, Myron Bailey.
Scott Kursky again?
Yep, he's the dude that was helping me with the West Bend. He got me to Nick.
Yeah, I know Scott.
Yeah, nice guy.
Work for me. I've done some work for him.
He seems like he's got a good little stash of connections and parts and bikes. Also, that Eric Weisterman.
Some motor plates for Bonanzas.
Yeah, he had a great deal on the engine he was selling.
Engines for him.
If you're looking for a West Bend, not a 5-port, but Scott's got a 3-port. Better gobble them up. Like you said, they're going.
Yeah, their prices are getting high.
I forgot to point out again the cool custom Hall of Fame trophy that each of the Hall of Famers will carry from year to year that Cliff Judd put together for us. Thanks, Nick. Hey, the Big 4-Wheel Off-Road Jamboree's in Lima, Ohio this weekend. If there's anybody listening that's in Ohio, you want to check out some cool trucks. Finally, Todd Buddy, Justin Wooster, Chris Korski, my buddy Jack Boyd also is going to help us on the judging, Dr. Robert David, and our friends over at Steady Garage. On a date, anything? Kind of busy. Hey, we'll just keep a look on the Facebook page. We'll announce the date and our guest. Ed, how about you? Anything that you want to wrap up? I know you've been
Bobby,
still working, right?
Shout out to Bobby. Justin, have a good time on your date.
It could be over by now. What time is it?
Probably is.
Yeah.
I thought that's what dates did. They both sat at a table
With the phone?
coffee shop with their phones in their hands.
Well, he's suggesting they're on to bigger and better things.
He said he leaves his phone in his truck.
He's a pretty pretty smart feller. He is. Well, so Justin, a shout out to him. Yeah. And then maybe you and I will get together and finally get some things going on the Super Stalker Barris bike. We shoot a little primer.
Get going on that.
All right.
Get primer on that thing.
I got to find out.
The motor going back together.
We got a line in an HS. You got the HS 400 that you're working on. We'll probably use that one. Hey, folks, thanks for listening in. Thanks for the patience with the initial part of the broadcast. It's Joe's Minibike Reunion. Thank all of our sponsors. Love you, Boom Boom. You did a great job, E. Hey, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Joe's Minibike Show.